Hey guys, how's it going? It's me, Myogi, and welcome to another segment of OtaNews. Let's dial back actually to our previous episode. Remember that I mentioned something that is for us to know and for you guys to find out? Well, let's take a look back if I was right in that statement. But we have other contests down the line, but I'm not telling which one they are. Okay, yeah, I was actually right. And the reason why I want to go back to that one is, well, the time is now. Yes, that's right, the time is now. And I am happy to announce to you guys that we're already giving the green light to our next community contest. We call it OtaNime. OtaNime comes from two short phrases, two short words per se, which is Ota, which came from OtaCute of course, and anime, which is, case in point, anime. Now, I think you know what I'm going to say when it comes to this one. To give you guys an idea, actually the video that's playing right now on my laptop is a short animated commercial by McDonald's themselves. McDonald's Japan, of course. And I mistook it for Studio Ghibli production, but it was well made and it was relatively short. So we're hoping, not 1:1, but we are hoping in a way that we would be hitting the same kind of output. Where most of the shots, and by the say shots, as in most of the prominent things needed in making an anime come from you, our favorite supporters and community members. OtaNime is divided into 4 main contests, and there will be prizes for each winner of each contest. So what are these 4 parts of OtaNime? We are not doubling down or abridging the entire animation process as per what the goal of OtaNime is. We'd just like to let you know these 4 main categories are storywriting, character design, voice acting or seiyuu, and music. This video will primarily focus on round 1, which is storywriting. So if you're opting to participate in round 1, be sure to slap like now. And if you're not a subscriber yet, be sure to subscribe to OtaCute TV for more news about this. And also share this to your friends. Like, more participants the merrier. Do it now. There will be restrictions, of course. Again, for those participating in round 1, keep this in mind when making your story. So the number of characters, we have a maximum of 2. Just like in the reference video that I've been talking about earlier. The setting is slice of life. The theme is, well, since we are OtaCute TV, happiness to everyone. So let's stick it to the theme of happiness. Giving happiness, sharing happiness, bringing happiness to the table, whichever, as long as it revolves around that phrase. And the time duration is roughly between 1 minute to a bare bones maximum of 1 minute and 30 seconds. I'm sure we can work something out with that kind of format, right? In terms of language, it will be up to you if you want it in English, Filipino, or if you are an absolute mad lad and you have the proper translations in. If you want to do a Japanese one to keep it as anime as possible, then let's do it. Just be sure to file it in on your submission entry. An extra note, if you are opting to participate in all 4 categories, that is fine, but you have to wait for registrations for rounds 2 to 4. For round 1, registrations are now officially open, so if you have a story in mind and you want to submit to it, just click the Google link form down below. If you don't have yet, or you're using the rest of the period to actually make your amazing short story, don't worry, you got a week at most starting today to make your short story and pass it to us. If this is your first time making a story, don't worry, this is not just an announcement for OtaNime. This is a crash course as well for those who want to join in making stories or story writing in general. So, now that I got my director's cap on, you know what? The only thing I really wonder is, why do people in the backline, like directors, writers, why are they always interpreted with this kind of blurring? I mean, it could be beyond me, but still, I'm just curious. Anyway, welcome to our crash course in storywriting. If this is your first time, be sure to take notes. If you're using this to join in on the contest of round 1, be sure to take notes. And the most important thing next to taking notes is you better slap that like button. Okay, I'll stop with the Davey 504 jokes. We're gonna be using the video, the McDonald's animation video, as a reference later, so keep that in mind. Let me introduce you first to the prim and proper of the process of story making. In any story, be it an episode, a short story, a movie, etc., it is always bound under the what we call the 3-act structure, or BME, which means beginning, middle, end, which is also known as first, next, then, and finally. For this one, we're going to be using the 3-act structure, and within each act there are some sub-stages, or I would like to call checkpoints, that your story goes through until you reach completion, which is basically the end. The opening act in the beginning, or Act 1, is called establishment. Establishment is where it shows your main characters, what their lifestyle is at the beginning, where the story is going to take place. Inciting incident follows that up, and that is where the motivation of our main characters take place. With regards to the McDonald's video, we'll get on to that later. The next one is rising action and or conflict. This normally happens in the middle, or Act 2, followed by climax and the falling action. All of these 3 sub-stages together make up Act 2, and what happens here is that our main character gets involved with some challenges of their own. Rising action normally focuses on the characters trying to struggle because for various reasons. One of them could be with regards to society, because they might stand out too much, how they adapt to it, or how society adapts to them. If they are a newbie at what they are doing, you would normally see them F up. I mean, if someone is good at almost everything, that's not that much of an appealing story, right? So they would need to have some flaws. Climax is where they reach their peak. In stories with positive messages, that is where they reach their maximum potential. For those with normally goes under the despair route, this is where they reach their breaking point, or sometimes this is where they would lose the thing that is holding them back most of the time. Falling action can be interpreted in various ways. For something as short as a slice of life story, this is normally where they do the wrap-up, or they see some realizations about themselves. Or if it's something like a journey to becoming the strongest, this is where they become less dependent on their teacher, on their master, and try to do things their way, applying everything that they've learned from the past. Resolution can be interpreted in multiple ways. It can be a closed story, can be left as an open book, it can be left to audience interpretation. You have the tools, you have the choices, it's up to you to make it count. I've been talking about the McDonald's animation story for quite some time now, so we're gonna use that as our main reference on how this process works. So establishing shot earlier shows that you have your 2 main characters, the staff member, or I would assume as the manager, and the student / part-timer, and it's going to be held at the McDonald's outlet. The inciting incident is the help wanted ad, which drives the character to apply, basically the part-timer, and the employee to teach the main character. So you see here that they already have their goals set as soon as the inciting incident takes place. The rising action, climax, falling action. Well, let's focus first on rising action and climax. The rising action normally shows that the part-timer is struggling, while the employee comes there to make sure that she doesn't screw up entirely or backs her up. You can clearly see here that the part-timer is still getting used to the environment around her. And came the climax is where the main character, the part-timer, is slowly becoming more competent, and now is just checking on approvals from her, let's say, senpai, as per address here on the video. The falling action as interpreted in the video is shown when it was the farewell party of the staff member, and the part-timer was very grateful for all her help. Because at that point, she's already independent. She's already a regular. She already knows the tools of the trade. And she doesn't need... It's not that she doesn't need her senpai anymore. It's just that the senpai is out there for greener pastures and has already ended her term at McDonald's. Of course, it is a heartbreaking moment, but you can see that as per her quoted words, she left an impact on the part-timer. Resolution, the route that they went is that they doubled down back to the inciting incident at the beginning. This is a bit of a trope called passing of the torch. So now she is the regular employee, and as seen in the ending there, or the resolution there, she is now doing the same role as her senpai was doing. Now let's move on to the segment that we call character writing. In character writing, you don't necessarily design the character just yet. You don't need to be that thorough, because that is the job of the character designer, which is the main cream of the crop of round 2. Character writing, pretty much you describing the character with just words. So you can be as abstract or as constructive as possible. If you're a bit of an OCD kind of person that you want it to be exactly as how you want it to be, this is where you need to be very thorough, very descriptive about the character. But not too much though, because you might overwhelm the character designer as well. Let's look back on our example again, the McDonald's commercial. So our two main characters there are the senpai and the part-timer. As what we saw on the video, the part-timer was very expressive, she's very clumsy. Yeah, she is young, that is an obvious given. And although sometimes not that sure of herself, she is quite optimistic. As for the senpai, she's level-headed and composed. It can be told by how her voice was delivered. She's quite reserved with her emotions. Maybe it's because of work ethic reasons. She's very mature, it very shows well on the design, and she boasts a lot of confidence, which is mostly her body language. So you can be up to 4 descriptions. You can be as thorough as you like on character descriptions. The more info that you give to your character designer, the more accurate it is, the more it would look as how you want it to be, as soon as it gets translated from word to drawing. Speaking of words, now's the time for us to focus on the next part, which is script writing. Script writing is the stage where the story that you have, now you gotta translate it into a script format, which is basically the industry standard. Have you done plays before? Have you done this at school before? You can see that, those long sheets of paper, the one that is normally in centered paragraphs, that is the script. This is what the voice actors read out. This is what the animators or key animators use to define how some scenes are played out. So the script is pretty much a universal tool for all stages as soon as you're done with finalizing your story and your sequence. It tells everything from what is small to what is big that is happening in each scene or shot. An alternate way, which is a bit of my own creation, as far as the animation production is concerned, is using sequence lists or scene lists. It's almost the same, it's just that it has different formats, more bulleted instead of centered paragraphs. For this, the lines are separate from the descriptions, just so that it is a cue for the voice actors. Everything else which is in the paragraph is what the animator or the artist is going to draw. In terms of camera work, that is a separate aspect. If you are also doing the story, if you want to do the camera work, you can opt to that as well. You don't have to be perfect with the drawing, just enough to give a rough visual description. And by descriptions, I mean like the sun is slowly rising into view, and you can see the grass and the flowers swaying left and right, following the movements of the wind. Those kinds of descriptions, sometimes it can be too poetic at times, damn it Shakespeare, but you get the idea. Now, when it comes to the deliverables, this is what's important for those participating in round 1. The deliverables is you need to have a short script or sequence or scene breakdown. We have sample templates on our social media, so be sure to check them out after this. If in case you do not have any social media accounts but you want to participate, we also have links as well here on our video info. Character description should be on a separate document. The documents can either be on PDF or .doc Word format, and we'll be sure to have an attachment tab on our submission form, so you just drop it there and we'll be the ones to review it. Now you may be wondering, how will the story be chosen? Well, we actually have some special guests. They have yet to be announced, but again, please check back on our social media accounts. They are actually from the industry. I have some ties with them. Some of them are professionals in the educational field that specialize in this, such as script writing and such. They're willing to be handing their help on this one. They'll be the ones to review all the entries and let us know which one is the best to work with on a short animation and a short course. So at this point, I'd like to say to the story writers, give it your all, give it your best. We'll be looking forward to them. And for those participating in rounds 2, 3, and 4, be sure to stay and watch, stay alert on the announcements on who would be or whose story would be chosen, so that you get to have some practice time before we announce the next contest rules. Alright, with regards to this, I'd like to thank personally my script writing professors back in my own college, in my own personal college, for giving me the rundown on the process on writing. I pretty much just gave an abridged version of what it means and what it means to write a story. So hopefully this would help. And again, don't forget to like the video, subscribe if you haven't, and we'll see you guys in the next round contest video.